Who's going to communicate with you next? When should you expect to hear from them? How long is it going to take before I have a crew on my property?
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Building Business Podcast. My name is Sancha, and I'm so excited to be back for another episode. Today, we're going to be getting into how we can provide some very actionable strategies to help keep our homeowners happy and scale our businesses, and what actually can help our customers feel taken care of. And here with me, I'm going to let you introduce yourself because you can give a lot more context, but I'm really excited about it.
My name is Michaela Freeman. I am the Vice President of Executive Partners. We are consultants for the roofing and contracting space, and we focus on financial and operational efficiencies. So that can obviously cover a lot of things. So within the financial efficiencies, we focus on making sure that your team is financially literate, that they can pull the data that they need out of the system, that their books are clean, and that they can not only see where their business is right now, making sure their business is cash healthy right now, but also making sure that they know where their business is headed financially. So that's that financial efficiencies part. The operational efficiencies is we focus on making your business work better so that you can make more money and your team can be happier. So that can include interdepartmental communication, it can include customer communication, standard operating procedures, problem solving within your team. So it covers a lot of things, but we work very closely with JobNimbus. We actually focus on JobNimbus. So we work exclusively with clients who are currently in JobNimbus or those that have migrated or are in the process of migrating from other systems into JobNimbus. So we work with making sure that their processes outside of the system as well as in the system are integrated and clean so that they can have the best practices for their company.
Let's talk about some of the frustrations that homeowners have. Because we've since discovered that both of us come from a roofing company background. What would you say? Homeowner frustrations. And then we'll get into like how you can help.
So yeah, I think that's so funny that you also have a roofing background. So I've done everything within roofing businesses. Yes. I've sold roofs. I can do roof inspections. I can tarp a roof. I've done production, chief operating officer.
We should start a company together.
I know, that would be so much fun. So yeah, I've definitely worked with the customers directly one-on-one. So some of the frustrations that come up, there's obviously a myriad of things that can go wrong, but I think that when you're talking about the things that frustrate customers the most, it can be a lot of little things, but I think that they get frustrated when they have unclear expectations or they don't have expectations set or they don't get proper communication. Yes. So I think those are the two things that cause customer frustration the most because there's lots of things in the sales process and the production process that can make a customer unhappy. We've all experienced where something goes awry in the production process and they are frustrated or something of the like. But I think those can all be summed up into keeping your customers happy requires that you set proper expectations so that their expectations matches the reality that they experience. So setting proper expectations for your customers, as well as having proper communication throughout the process.
Even some of those just very, they seem very small or petty or insignificant, but for the homeowner, that is a big deal. And for us, in working at a roofing company, we have multiple projects on the go. We have all these homeowners. To us, they don't feel this huge gravity of a frustration, but it can be. So absolutely getting ahead of that.
Yeah.
I think too, you talk about expectations. And again, I think there's a lot of ways, and we're going to talk about how we can like combat some of these and get ahead of them. But I think there is that laying out the expectations. We do this at JobNimbus in like the sales experience. You could have a PDF of your what to expect or about us or just something to tell that like right from the start, right from before the job is even sold. So there's that piece. But I don't want to take away from, I know some of the very practical tips you have coming.
Yeah, I do have a lot of practical application tips. Yeah. I think one of those I think it's easy for someone who's in our industry on the day-to-day to kind of have assumptions about what comes next or what is going to happen in this process. But for a homeowner, especially one that's going through it for the first time, but just for a homeowner in general, especially if it's their first time working with you, even if maybe they've gone through this process before, they might not know what to expect. And so as a sales rep, for example, you go through the whole process of selling them the project, giving them a solution for how we're going to fix their roof or whatever they've got going on. Then you sign the contract and get the deposit, and then you roll on. And for the companies that are not necessarily, that the sales reps are not also running production, there's kind of this gap.
A disconnect.
Where the sales rep is like, yeah, we're good. Like they're moving on to production now. But for the customer, there's just this dead space of like, wait, what
does
happens
bridge that
next?
gap?
They left.
Yes.
And so having setting the expectation, and this is one of those things that you can put into those processes by automation. So automations is one of the big things that we utilize with our customers to make sure that communication is going out properly, because it is important that your sales rep walks your customer through, like, what are the next steps? Who's going to communicate with you next? When should you expect to hear from them? How long is it going to take before I have a crew on my property?
Yes.
All of those expectations need to be set by the sales rep. But I think there are processes that you can put in place to make sure that if we do have human error, that we have some level of safety net for our customers so that they still have proper communication and proper expectations and can have a positive experience with our company at the end of the day. And so automations is a really excellent way to do that, because I can build into my system when my job hits a production step, when they have been approved for production. As soon as they reach that step, the system sends an email that says, hey, customer name, congratulations, thank you so much for choosing our company. We're so excited to complete your project. Our production manager's name is X, and they'll be reaching out to you as soon as possible. Here are some of the next steps to expect. And that email, and you can create it a text also if you've got Engage set up, another really excellent feature to utilize for customer communication, to send them a text, even if it's just to say, hey, we've sent you an email with more information about the production process. We're so excited to work with you. Call us if you have any questions.
Mm-hmm.
Even just sending them a quick, like, hey, we've sent you information by email, can be so informative for the customer, because the name of the game is going to be communicating with the customer before they feel the need to reach out and ask you a question.
Yes, if you can catch that beforehand, I really truly believe that, like, even as a consumer, if someone proactively reaches out to me
Mm-hmm.
and catches my frustration before it happens, I have so much more grace
Yep.
for the outcome or the holdup or the bottleneck or whatever
Yep.
it might be. If you could just go through and kind of give some tips in terms of how you would recommend process for those that would keep the customer happy, just like hitting some of those.
If we're talking specifically, if we start with the automation side of it, I think having a welcome email to say, thanks so much, we're so excited to work with you, call us if you have any questions. And then having an automation that goes out when you have a scheduled inspection with the name of the sales rep can be so informative for a client to know who's going to be coming to their job site and how do I reach them if I have a question beforehand. So having the name of the sales rep and the phone number.
I will say in this industry, I think there is a lot of like having my guy.
Yeah.
My person.
Yeah.
Who is my contact? Even contractors to tech for us, or the homeowner to the contractor.
Yeah.
Like, who is my person?
Exactly.
Who can I rely on?
Yeah, exactly. The expectation of like, who do I need to reach out to if I have a question? So who do I reach out to for the inspection phase? Once we get on to the signed contract, you've got the congratulations, thank you so much for choosing us.
A little bit of delight.
Yeah, a little bit of delight. Scheduled, your job is scheduled kind of updates. And then the review request. So being able to automate the review request can be really, really useful. But from the customer communication standpoint, from a team member, I believe so strongly that a no update is better than silence. If your customer feels the need to reach out to you, you have waited too long to talk to them. So at any point in the process, I think there are key points at which you have to reach out to your customer. You've got to schedule the inspection, you've got to build the estimate, you have to present it, you have to sign the contract, you've got to schedule the job. There's all these points at which we have natural touch points. But in between those points, there can be significant gaps at times, especially when we're in peak season and production is heavy and there's just a lot going on for every team member. And so I think it's important, and there are ways that you can utilize tasks to have reminders come up to be, oh yeah, I've got to call Susie Smith and just say, hey, we're working on your project, et cetera. But having that reach out, and this is another thing that you can automate as well, if a job is sitting in a status for 2 weeks, and have an email go out and say, hey, we're working on getting your project ready for production. Feel free to reach out to your production manager at phone number if you have a question.
I really like that too, the gap between the sales and the production piece, bridging that, because you're right, that can be a very long gap depending on, is it a storm season? I know where I'm from in Canada, we get hailstorms that are devastating, and it will be like a whole quadrant of the city is waiting for a new roof or siding, and that wait can be so long between like the initial service and the actual like roof repair.
Yeah.
So, okay, I love this. Do you have anything else to add on this? I do have more questions.
No, I mean, I think those are the big things. Utilizing automations to have kind of those safety nets of customer communication and expectation setting, and then knowing that you need to reach out regularly, even if you don't have an update, just to reach out to say, hey,
What did you say? A no update?
Yeah, a no update is better than silence.
Yes.
Just to say, I don't have any new information for you, but I'm still thinking about you. I haven't forgotten about you. We're still working on your project.
Sometimes things do go wrong, and we can't necessarily get ahead of it because it's unprecedented or it's out of our control. A supplier delivery, maybe it's the wrong materials. Ideally, again, through using JobNimbus supplier integrations, you have live pricing, and it's getting, very accurately from your estimate into your order and to your supplier. But there's always room for error. So when we think about when things go awry, in terms of customer care, what would your recommendations be for handling those things?
A lot of these experiences can feel very run-of-the-mill to us and feel like, oh, this seems like a small thing. Why are you so upset? But it's important to take a moment and have empathy for that customer who this is not a normal experience for them.
And it's their home.
It's their home, and it's also very outside of their comfort zone. And so, and it's also a large investment, right? So I think to take a moment, and even if it feels like a small thing for you, to treat that thing as very important, and to take a minute to validate how they are feeling and to make them feel heard and to acknowledge their frustration or their emotions that they're having with that. And then again, to set out, what is our action plan from here? What are the next steps? So even if it is something simple like, hey, I haven't heard from you, and I'm a little lady who thinks that, everybody should call me every single day, right? If it's something small
and you've taken
like
my money, and
exactly,
now where did you go?
Exactly. So even setting the next, I totally understand you. I want to make sure that you feel taken care of and that you understand what's happening next, and that, that we're working on your project. So what I'm going to do about that is, and to set the next steps for that customer. So this is true when you're working with a production error, if the material supplier has not dropped material, whatever that looks like, validate their concern and their feelings with what's going on, and treat it with the importance that they feel it is, without escalating the situation. And then set the expectation for next steps. What is the action plan that we're going to take? And then see if they have any questions.
Your business process is yours, and it's not ours to dictate what that should be. We obviously can make advice and give advice, but we are here to consult or provide a tool to equip and help you scale. But again, that validating piece I think is so true. And then there is that connection and trust that can be built so that when you need to make a plan going forward, they do believe it.
And it's so easy to be afraid of that moment and to avoid and to run away and to, be like, oh, I'm going to talk to somebody about that and run off, right? Because it's easier to avoid the situation. But to take it head on and to validate and then set the next steps for them and own it if it is your error, to take responsibility for it and then set the next steps for how you're going to correct it, those can become your most loyal clients. Like many of us who have worked in roofing have experienced that, where something goes wrong, either we make a mistake or a mistake is made by somebody else. And the way we handle it creates the most ecstatic reviews, or creates those loyal customers, or the customer that gives us referrals.
They're heard.
How you handle that situation can lead to more positive outcomes, even than having a perfect process.
I would agree. I had a number of scenarios where it was, there wasn't, there were nails in my flower bed at the end of a job, and someone very distraught. Again, it's their home. It's their safe place. It's their sanctuary. I think a part of this, even with like the sales experience inside of JobNimbus, is having that photo on the front of your quote, where you're like, hi, this is your home, and this is our plan for your home because we care about you, this safe space for you. And so yes, these nails in the garden, and I was able to say, hey, that was on us. Our crew didn't do an adequate cleanup. We will send someone out right away. Again, having the structure and process in place to be able to access the crew to go do that right away and be able to promise that. But they were, and they cleaned up, and this woman ended up giving them like lunch and like cold like cans of Coke, like just was so grateful. And again, it was just the way that they turned it around. And so I would agree that it is almost more powerful.
Yeah.
Not that you should go out and make mistakes,
Obviously
but just
not.
like if you do, to own it, validate it, and go for it. I really, really like that. What would be one piece of advice you have for viewers or listeners that they could implement today?
From you as leadership, if you are the operator of your business, or if you're a sales manager or a team leader of some kind, or even if you're a sales rep, making sure that you have an understanding as a team, how does our company communicate with clients, and at what points should I be making touch points with my customers, and what are the expectations that we as a company want to set for our customers? So
in a standardized way.
In a standardized
so
way.
So every
exactly.
customer gets the same experience.
Exactly. Standardizing the experience for your customers. So making sure that your entire team understands what is the expectation for our team of how and when we communicate with our customers. So internally making sure that process is in place. And then within your system, like we've talked about the automations, essentially creating a safety net for your team. There are going to be times where we're running around and we're busy and we don't get a chance to call Susie Smith, right? So having those automations in place to be able to say, hey, we're thinking about you. We're still working on your project. Or, hey, congratulations. Thank you so much for choosing us. Here are the next steps. Having those safety nets in place to where your customer gets those communications automatically based on where they're at in your system.
I love that. And I think it speaks a lot to our mission here at JobNimbus, which is to make contractors heroes, not necessarily because that's the end point, but because contractors can be heroes in their communities and to their homeowners. I really appreciate you being here and giving your thoughts. Where can we find you? Where can viewers and listeners find more about you?
Yeah, so you can find us. We've got our website online at www.exec.partners. There is no .com. It's
just
exec.partners.
Okay.
Yeah. We're a little sneaky there. We are also on Facebook, so you can find us there. We post videos. I post a lot of videos about like how to utilize your JobNimbus, how to work best in your JobNimbus, and then general business best practices for roofing businesses. So we're also on Facebook, Executive Partners on Facebook, so you can find us there.
Amazing. Oh, well, I'm so grateful to have had you. And if you enjoyed this, there will be more to come. We're so excited to have this podcast back in action. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment, share this wherever you would like. And we look forward to seeing you again on another episode.